can start with reviewing the documents that were sent. So the first person to send was Suhasini. I think she's not there on the call. Then second one to send is Vijay. Okay, so probably we'll look at Vijay's BRD and FSD. BRD first. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is the heading, fund transfer automation, project is there. Then you have date issued, document version, first draft, document location. Then prepared by, okay, Maninder and Vijay, they've prepared it together. That's good. Then distribution list, is a client. So then you have a reviewer and approver. Then you have updated the change control. Okay, so this looks good. Okay, and so document purpose or the background or the project description, I think this is missing, Vijay. So probably it's good to have because this is an option where you can give background about the project on why we are getting into a project. So it's a good option and what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve.
Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. So then you gave the BRD number. So the BRD is fund transfer for already registered user using NEFT, IMPS, RTGS. Okay. Then out of scope. Okay. So maybe if you don't have anything out of scope, right? Maybe just put it as none or something. Yeah. So that at least tells that we considered and there is nothing out of scope. Then in scope, BRD is okay. So then you've given this, the priority is high, there's no dependency. Out of scope, again, none. Assumption. So login functionality already developed and working. Multiple beneficiaries are already added in account. Okay. Dependencies, none. Non-functional requirements, amount should be in INT, float, values only. Okay. Hours of operation in banking should be available 24/7. Performance, a user should be able to transfer funds in less than 30 seconds. Adequate logs should be available when there is a failure. Okay. Yeah, I think BRD looks fine. Maninder and Vijay. So you've done fairly good job considering this is the first assignment. Okay. So let's look at how you transform this into an FSD. So fund transfer, then you put version published, business group, then project manager, reference documents. So probably interest would be like more of, information and business team. Yeah, so it would be like approval. Document approvals. Okay, so you listed here. Okay, this is
So Ravi, do we need to mention teams here, or we have to mention all the key stakeholders?
so generally what you do is you will put the name of the stakeholder here, the name of the stakeholder, then you will take the designation of that stakeholder and put it here. And then, so what would be their interest? So are they like, are we just informing them or will they be reviewing it? Will they be approving it? Because when you send the document to multiple stakeholders, right? If you don't tell them what exactly you want them to do, they will be confused.
Right. So we have to be specific.
Yeah. So document approval, section summary. Okay, so this is again a good executive summary, because what happens is when you send the functional specifications to let's say any senior stakeholder, right? If they look at it, this executive summary gives a very good understanding of your project. So which is why it's crucial to have an good executive summary. Mm, terms and abbreviations. So you can use like any glossaries. So for example, like what is NEFT, what is IMPS, so that everyone can understand. Things like
Oh,
that can be
amazing.
under glossary. And
Mhm.
risks and assumptions. So you can put some risks and assumptions here. Then BRD to FSD traceability. So you have given the BRD, then the FSD number. Then you have this was pre-populated, right? And, title fund transfer using IMPS NEFT RTGS. Okay, new functionality. This will add value to end user because they are able to transfer funds online, right? Fund transfer using should be able to transfer fund transfer using various methods. Okay, so this is, I think this is the key piece where you are saying what is the target state or change, right? And current state or original requirement. Okay, so we already have an application, and so which is running, and then we want to transform it into a new one, right? Probably. So what you have written here is more like business requirement document, but the
Mhm.
expectation from a functional specification document is, so assuming this is the requirement, right, should be able to transfer funds using various methods, right? So now your functional specification should be something like this. Okay. uh, After a valid net banking user logs into net banking application, Okay, so probably we'll say first one.
So in other words, we have to specify each step with the
Yeah,
uh,
because so
expected
the
outcome.
yeah, so I'm just writing like few examples here. So what you're saying is the business requirement is that user should be able to transfer funds, right? So that is what the user wants, but FSD is more about how you will achieve what the user is expecting. Okay, so because this is the document that your developer will refer and then he will start building the software. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so he
Got it.
knows, okay, so he should be able to fund transfer using this one. So this is the requirement. And then after a valid user logs into net banking, okay, so then he will create a form with all these fields and you define all the rules here. You define what is the data type, etc. So you can add like use case diagrams and all of that. So which we'll look at when we study the BA techniques. But the FSD is more about how you will achieve the requirement. Okay, so your developer will exactly go through this and he will simply develop whatever you're documenting in the FSD. You're getting the difference, right, Vijay?
Yeah. I got
Yeah. Okay. Similarly with the non-functional requirements, right? So for example, the net banking application should process at least 10 lakh transactions in a day. Okay. So here it will be, so you've given the requirements, but how will you achieve this requirement is, so you will add more details to the non-functional requirements here. So for example, just give me a second. Yes. Okay, so what you will do here is data volumes should transform at least like 10 lakh transactions in a day, right? So you can say something like this. The functional specification would be something like this. Okay. So you're getting the difference, right? So we are also telling how we need to achieve this. So we are saying, okay, this is the requirement, but we're also like putting in a lot of thought on how this solution can be achieved. Okay.
Okay.
So for example, you are saying availability is 24/7, right? So what can you say here? Okay. So you can, because the availability is 24/7, set up two production environments which are alike in nature. Production and the other environment is DR. Okay. Or maybe something like this to load balance. Okay, so we are also telling the developer how it needs to be achieved. Okay, so this is where um, you the FSD is different. So what you document in BRD is more like a wish list or the requirement that the user is asking, but FSD we are transforming it into more how we want to implement, how can that be achieved, right?
So this data recovery environment is also similar to production, and that would be running simultaneously, right?
Yeah, correct. So so it will be like running on so it will be like two nodes running
Mhm.
in parallel, and then there'll be like simultaneous data replication, and you can cut over anytime. So this is how you maintain availability of the application 24/7.
So this responsibility also lies at TA.
Yeah, so you need to give you need to give guidance. So which is why a business analyst should also understand a bit more about technology and software, right? So obviously you
Mhm.
can. So this is something you will know. You will. I mean, let's say if you don't have the experience or knowledge, right? So there are architects in the team, right? So there are solution architects and enterprise architects in the team,
Mhm.
so you involve them as well, and then you get the specifications from them on how it should be achieved. So basically you will put a summary of how it needs to be achieved, so you'll have these discussions with solution architects, and then you will input here, and then you will update one of the contributors as the solution architect for the specification, right? But eventually when you spend a lot of time in projects, right, you work with different solution architects, and you already know how it works, and sometimes you will turn out to be like the one who's giving solutions if you really have like a lot of experience, right? So you don't need
Mhm.
to involve a solution architect.
So Ravi,
Okay.
this availability, isn't it like when we are developing the application initially, right? So when we are adding a feature to the application, do we need to take care of this SLA aspect like the uptime and the replication of um, and the failover.
So it
So like here
depends.
we are
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah. So if you're looking
So
at
like
like
here just
upgrade, right, then yeah, we can include. But let's say, I mean, I'm just giving you a hypothetical situation. Let's say your application was not a critical application. Forget about net banking. Maybe your application is more of internal static data application. But now you're enhancing a feature where your customer will be able to log in, right? So all of a sudden your application's criticality is going to the next level, right? So which means you may have to consider. So which is why it's always good to, even if it's a small requirement, right? It's always good to look at all the possible non-functional requirements. And let's say if availability is not required, right? Just change it to, instead of leaving it blank, maybe just put it as not applicable.
okay, got it.
Yeah. But you should, at least you know that, okay, you have considered this, but it's not applicable for your change. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully this is giving a hang of how a FSD should look like to everyone. Any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, maybe we can look at Anshuman's. Anshuman was the third person to share, so I will maybe bring up his document. This is yours, right? Okay, Anshuman. Okay. Distribution list. Okay, and so version control is important, Anshuman, because what happens is if it's like a really major change, right? If you don't maintain version control, and and especially when there are multiple contributors, your document will land in trouble because you don't know who's updating what, right? So it's always good to maintain a version control.
We'll be putting across the old version and the new version both, or only this one?
Yeah, so it will be incremental. Okay, so for example, 0.1. Okay, so our 1.0 is the first version that you're creating. Okay, and you are the one who's creating, and issue date maybe some date you put and changes. Okay, initial.
I think I put it in the beginning.
Okay, so then you
The
say
current version I put in, but not this. The whole history I have not updated it.
yeah. Okay, so then 2.0 added non-functional requirements section. Okay, or maybe something like removed out of scope section, something like that. So it gives an indication of what is changing.
There I have given the version one.
Yeah, so version here you're giving the version, but what about the changes that you're making in the document?
That I have not. Yeah, that is what
Yeah,
I told.
yeah.
So
Okay.
the same version will be here also, right? That version 2.0 I mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
That will.
So that would be the latest version. So for example, your version is what is the version that you mentioned? So it's 2.1. So 2.1, you put it as the latest version. Okay.
Yeah.
And you also know who made what. Okay, so tomorrow if there is any issue or you need more clarification on any requirement, it's easy to identify.
Okay.
Then you have sign off approvals. Then you have given the document purpose. The existing customers have complained about the instability of the internet banking. They are not satisfied with the scope and the way it functions. Hence, we are coming up with a new upgraded and robust internet banking. It should one amount proven. Okay, so this is a really good document purpose that you have written, Anshuman. So this is good. So you're telling what was the problem in just one line, and then you are telling, okay, so why we are, so what were they not happy about, and what are we trying to do, and then followed by what are the key features that we are going to develop to solve this customer problem. Okay, so this is like a really good purpose anyone who looks at this document will have a clear understanding and have a good context. Okay, so then, yeah, so the BRD ID, right? So it's important to have a unique ID, maybe something like BR01, because this is something that you will be using when you establish the traceability everywhere. Okay, so especially when you're creating the traceability metrics where you link the test cases to business requirements, right? And all of that, it will be useful. And generally the convention that I use for in scope items, right? So I use IS, which stands for in scope _01. And for out of scope, I use OS _01. So that way I know this is the item in scope or this is the requirement which is out of scope. Okay, and then you have listed all the business requirements here. All active user should be able to log in with the user ID. Okay. Okay, yeah. So this is a good summary. So you have added the priority as well and dependency, and so all requirements cannot be high. I know just for practice you have put, but it's important to prioritize these requirements in the order of value. And so we'll be talking more about how to prioritize requirements. Okay, because when you talk to a user, right, he will say every requirement is of high priority. Okay, so just like when you give toys to the kid, right, so he will say I want all of them, just like that.
We can use that Fibonacci kind of series, right?
I have a totally different, dedicated session on how to prioritize requirements.
Okay.
So we should, so it depends on the complexity of requirements and the complexity of stakeholders. We'll use a range of techniques to prioritize them. Okay, so then the assumptions is good. Okay, then NFRs. Okay, hours of operation. Okay.
So Ravi, just one quick question here.
Yeah.
So like the first section, that data validation is NFR 0, 1, 2, and 3. So this number will increasing, right? This will not based on the section. Like the next
This,
section is R of operations. So the NFR 04, right?
yeah,
ID
correct.
value.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Can you just scroll down? Yeah, like here is NFR 07, that should be 04, right?
04.
And
Yeah,
so on.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
So this would be incremental in other sections.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. It'll be incremental. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so moving on to the FSD.
I think the
And
FSD was not to the mark for me. You can check it.
Sorry, Anshuman.
So the FSD that I have put across, I think it has to be a little bit more elaborate what I thought. Anyways, we will check it, but
Yeah.
that is what I thought.
Yeah.
And Ravi, if we have multiple non-functional requirements, so do we have to map it to each functional requirement as well?
Yeah, that's right. So that's very important, because what happens is every non-functional requirement, right, should be related to one of the business requirements that you're documenting. Because otherwise what happens is you will end up having some nice to have non-functional requirements. Okay, so to avoid that pitfall, it's always good to map to a corresponding business requirement. And the other advantage by doing so is if any specific business requirement is dropped off or descoped at a later stage, right, you know what is the NFR that needs to be descoped. So always maintain a traceability between NFR and BR. Yeah, okay, so you've updated the glossary here. Okay, so you maintain traceability. A user can log in with a numeric ID to have additional security and avoid any user ID should be a password should be. Should be able to process it. I think probably I think this is not updated, right? Anshuman, maybe just take the example of what we changed in for Vijay, right? So it should be more on just imagine, visually how the screen would look like, how the user would navigate, and then convert that into FSD. So probably you can take what we discussed for Vijay, right, as a reference and then create. Who's dropping off and joining? Okay, so probably we'll look at other artifacts and other even others. So whenever you get a chance, just send it over, and then I'll take a look and respond to you with the feedback. Okay, now we'll go and look at what are the other documents that we need to prepare as a business analyst.
Ravi, the FSD one, did we check it? I dropped for 1 minute.
Yeah. So I checked that. I think it's not up to date, Anshuman. So we need to. I think you need to update a bit more based on what we discussed for Vijay, right? Based on Vijay's feedback.
Okay, so that FSD one means the FSD functional part I have not mentioned, I suppose, because after I saw the one that you updated for Vijay, that part I have missed it.
Yeah. So if you can update that and send it to me, right? I'll
Okay.
take a look and
Fine.
give the
I'll do
feedback. Yeah. So there are a lot of other documents that we prepare as business analysts, but these three are the key: user story, BRD, and converting it into FSD. These three are the key. So we look at other documents as well that we need to look at. Okay. Just give me a second. So anyone has any questions on BRD or FSD or user story? Venkatesh, do you have any questions?
No, Ravi, everything is clear.
Okay, that's good. I'm just opening the sample documents that we need to refer. Okay, so the first thing that we'll look at is the business case. Okay, so I'll be sharing these sample templates with you for your reference. So when do we prepare a business case? Business case is when you're kicking off something new, or maybe you have a major initiative or major enhancement for your project, and you want to seek funding or approval from senior management, right? So that's when you prepare a business case. And a lot of times the stakeholders come to you for your help in preparing business case. The reason being you have excellent documentation skills and you have the ability to gather information from multiple teams and then consolidate in and give that one view, right? Um, so I'll be taking you through different sections, and I'll share the template subsequently with you. So the first thing is that you give an executive summary, so something like what we did. So so you'll tell what is the problem or opportunity, and then what are the key expectations, and then you will give a quick financial summary of what is the investment and how much is the expected funding and what is the return on investment over a period of time. Okay, and then you will dig a bit more detail into the introduction, background, and the problem statement on why you're proposing for this business case, right? And then you also do market analysis on how other competitors or other players in the industry are actually trying to address this problem, and what is the size of the problem, or if you're trying to get into a new opportunity, right? What is the expected revenue and all of that, and what are your competitors are already offering, etc. So all of that is done in market analysis. And then so you give a list of benefits that will be that will come up by delivering this new feature. And then you do a cost benefits assessment, how much costs are involved and what costs, and then what are the benefits. And then you give like multiple options. Okay, so never give like one option, so you give multiple options, and then what are the benefits of each of them. You recommend them here in this section, and then any of the key assumptions and dependencies and any risks, etc., and followed by the resource requirements, costs, and all of this. Okay. And you also give the funding source. Funding source is, so what are the different possible avenues from where you can fund this project? Okay. And so what sort of timelines that you're looking at, okay, for funding or kicking off the implementation, etc. Okay, and any other?
Ravi, one query here.
Yeah.
Funding part, will it be most of the data will be again from the stakeholder basis, right?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Can you?
So for this business case requirement that we are putting up, so this is a business case for the project, right?
So it could be project for, let's say, for example, okay. Can you unmute yourself, Anshu?
Yeah.
Okay. So this could be for anything. For example, let's say your bank or your organization is planning to launch a new product. So you may create a business case for that on why you want to launch the new product.
Okay. So that is a product based side. Now service based side.
So service based side, for example, let's say you want to set up a new training capability. Okay, maybe something like you want to set up center of excellence team, right? Then you can create a business case for that.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So then the time, and then so any conclusions or recommendations, and then you add any additional information that you provide to your senior stakeholders in the appendix. Okay, so this is the normal structure. Sometimes it could be shortened to like 1 or 2 pages depending upon the size of the request. But so the different contents that are covered in this template, right, are more or less which you will use even for a large project. Okay, so any questions or anything that you would like to know more on any of these sections?
So, we just want to understand, like, suppose we have an existing product and we are expecting to upgrade it.
Mhm.
So, so this responsibilities lies on a BA to create a business case, or it would be, I mean, at higher level.
Okay, so generally what happens is if you have a product owner in your team, right, then your product owner would raise a concern that, okay, there are like user issues or user problems. Okay, so we don't upgrade application just like that, right? So we upgrade for two reasons. One is there are business problems. Other one is there are opportunities when we upgrade. So either of them, so when you have a new opportunity, then it comes from business. Okay, so business will say there is a new opportunity, and then you do a feasibility study to facilitate that new opportunity, and then you decide your application is not ready. Then you will collate information, and then you will prepare the business case. And so when, so let's say if you have problems in the existing application, then you have a lot of user complaints. And then probably this could be an outcome based on your discussion with various business stakeholders on how to address the problem. So even in that case, so you will be initiating the business case, but you will be working with different stakeholders. In general, a lot of projects, right, come to business analysts for preparing business case, because normally business analysts, they have very good documentation skills, and they have like very good stakeholder engagement and coordination, right? They can um, collate information from different teams and synthesize it and then publish it in a precise format.
Okay.
So at least I have not seen anyone else in the team preparing a business case. A lot of times it becomes a business analyst responsibility. Okay, so any question from anyone?
So how long does it take to make the business case, like uh, generally?
Okay, so that's a good question. So depending on the urgency, I've created a business case in 3 days. I've created a business case in like 1 month also, depending on the urgency. For example, so and a lot of this depends on practical situations as well, right? For example, let's say the financial year is starting from 1st of July, right? 1st of July and ending like 30th of June. Sometimes what happens is new funding or new budget is approved from the new financial year, right? And a lot of business guys, they will be in a hurry to prepare business cases, because normally funding is based on first come first serve basis. So in order to secure their pot of gold, what they do is they approach business analysts and say, okay, we have this opportunity, can you prepare a business case? Then maybe you have to like sit continuously for 2-3 days and then prepare for it. Sometimes what happens is maybe you it's not very urgent, so that time you may take a lot more days to prepare. Depends on the urgency and how soon they want it.
Okay.
So just for my understanding, suppose somebody, I mean, working as a PA, suppose almost from last 10 years, and approximately how many business case he or she has to prepare?
How many business days a BA has?
Right. So like within 10 year of experience, how many cases generally a PA prepared?
How many business cases is it?
Yeah.
It depends actually. So if you ask me, right, in my 14 years of experience, maybe I've created like maybe 20 business cases. Not a very commonly used artifact. When you're doing a business case, that means you have like a major project coming up. Not like BRDs or FSDs.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so if there are no further questions, we can move to the next artifact. So we'll look at the requirements traceability metrics.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
So how to calculate the cost of, all these components? Do we have any estimation template, or we calculate estimate based on some other method?
Actually, there are various calculations, financial calculations that we have to do. So we'll study more on what type of calculations we have to do for the cost when we discuss the financial analysis business BA technique. So so we'll go through like 20 commonly used techniques, and one of them is financial analysis. So that's when I'll tell you what are the different costs and financial metrics that you need to compute. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is traceability metrics. So can anyone knows what is a traceability metrics? This is one of the commonly asked interview questions as well. So what is a traceability metrics, and how do you establish traceability?
So basically, traceability metrics is a test case metrics which we map to each requirement. Suppose we
Okay.
have a two functional requirement. So correspondingly, we have to mention what are the various scenarios that we have written to cover these scenarios.
Yeah, perfect, Vijay.
And the advantage of it, like if we have in later stage of time, we update any functional requirement so that we can get a sense and quickly understand what are the various test case that would be impacted.
Yeah,
So we
perfect.
can quickly backtrack and update those test cases.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So yeah, as Vijay rightly said, so basically you have to so you create all the test cases, right? Here. So these are the requirements that you pick up from your BRD or user story, and then you create your test cases here. Okay, so basically you're establishing a linkage between your requirements and test cases. This has numerous benefits. So the first thing is obviously, so when a requirement is changing in future, you will know what are the impacted test cases for your regression, right? And the second benefit is when you're working on testing, so when your tester is testing, let's say when your tester is testing this test case number one, so and while testing he encounters a defect. Okay, so he will not know whether this is a real defect because the requirement is not captured correctly, or this is not a defect intentionally excluded requirement, right? So whenever he's testing that, he knows what is the corresponding requirement. He will go and check the detailed requirement in the BRD and FSD, and then he will come to a conclusion whether it's a defect or whether it's a new request or whether it's out of scope, right? So this will help him to identify that. And the third one is, so a lot of times we document requirements, but we miss to test them, right? So by mapping requirements to test cases and by establishing a two-way mapping, so we make sure that every requirement is having a corresponding test case and is tested, right? So three advantages. And so if you don't understand what is a requirement traceability metrics and what are the advantages, right? I can explain once more, but this is very important concept, especially from an interview perspective.
So Ravi, we will be putting across the same way like we did it in the mapping of BRD and FRD. Kind of IDs we will be putting it across in the test case.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, so that you can pick it up from what we did in the FSD. But in the FSD, it's more of a mapping between FS and BR, right? Here, it's a mapping between your BR and your test case IDs. Okay. So this is when you don't use JIRA, right? So you can maintain it in Excel, But when you use JIRAs and then when you create the acceptance criteria, remember the acceptance criteria are automatically converted into test cases, right? So JIRA automatically establishes traceability. Okay, so you don't need to do this manual exercise if your organization has JIRA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one
Normally,
BRD, sorry.
carry on.
So one business requirement can be linked with multiple test cases. We have to list all together.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be like one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many, or many-to-one also. So
Okay.
yeah.
But anyways, Ravi, anyways, it will be kind of when you put it in JIRA, because normally everyone will be putting it either of the ALM tool. So it will be automatically kind of generated, right? Mapped kind of.
In the ALM tool?
Yeah, I mean, suppose it's like
Yeah, if you have ALM tool, then it's fine. So you can create your requirements and then you can link your test cases there. But if you don't have ALM tool, if you didn't work on ALM tool, maybe you can say that you maintain an Excel. Then this is a very common practice, maintaining traceability in Excel.
Okay.
But what is most important is you should know the 3 reasons why we maintain traceability. Because the moment you explain traceability, right, the next question would be, can you tell what is the advantage of maintaining this traceability?
Okay.
Okay, so that's the next
So
part.
do you have any examples so that we can relate it kind of? Means any kind of written matrix so that we can relate that BRD for this, we write a kind of unit test case for like this. Something kind of relation example.
We can so okay, let me just create it on the spot for you. So for example, we have this requirement, right, where we said, okay, so NetBank customer funds transfer. Okay. Okay, and module is, let's say it will be something like net banking. Requirement description, our customer should be able to transfer funds using IMPS in EFT or RTGS, right? And source code, so this is optional. So where is your source code? This is optional. So you can give a part to this one. Then you can maintain like a test case ID. So where you say it's the net banking module, right? So maybe you can say NB_001. Okay, for example, release is maybe you can say like September 2021, or maybe like release number as well. Okay, then you can say this is BR_001. Okay, then you have this NB001 test case, right? So you go and create your test case here. For example, NB_001. Then you will say transfer customer funds using NEFT. For example, I'm just writing a basic test case. Okay, so transfer funds using IMPS. Okay, so this will be NB002. Okay, and then you'll have NB003, transfer funds using RTGS, right? So what you'll do is you'll go here and then you'll say NB001, NB002, and NB003. Okay, so what happens is, so assume I'm a tester, and then so let's say I have a requirement like net banking customer funds transfer only within same bank. Okay, For example, this is the requirement. So only allow transfer within the same bank, right? Then I am the tester. I'm going and testing this NEFT. I'm just testing like other bank, right? And then I tested other banks, and then I put this as fail, okay? Because the NEFT transfer for other banks is interbank is not working. So if I don't have traceability, right, I don't know if this is a genuine defect or not. To find out, now I have the traceability, right? So I'll copy this number, okay? Then I'll go to the traceability matrix, then I'll look up. Okay, so then I know, okay, so this is the requirement. Okay, what is the requirement? Okay, so the net banking customer funds transfer only within same bank. Oh, same bank. Okay, so then it's not a issue. So I'll make it to pass. Okay, so that's how a tester will know whether it's a genuine defect or a new requirement or out of scope requirement. Right, so that's the advantage. And tomorrow, let's say if I'm making a change to this requirement, transfer funds only within same bank and also interbank. Okay, I don't need to go and create new test cases because I know when I change this functionality, I need to test these 3 test cases, right? So I'll simply go and test these 3 test cases now. You're getting the advantage, right, of establishing this traceability.
Yeah, so it's we are kind of mapping the cases that we have written, just the numbers, we are kind of IDs, we can map it. And here in the B column, we are putting across the BRDs or the use cases.
Sorry, which column?
B column, application requirement definition. So it is BRD or the FSD?
This is BRD. So you're putting the BRD.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it is waterfall, we'll be putting the BRD.
Yeah.
If it is Agile, we will put in the use cases.
No, if it's Agile, so it's not like that. Okay, so you can put use cases or BRD even if it's waterfall, but in Agile, right? Your testing and development will be done at the same time. Your developer will automate your testing for you. Generally, if you have CI/CD implemented in your project, so you won't write like a traceability because a lot of organizations use JIRA. So when you write the acceptance criteria, right, it generates test cases automatically, and your traceability is already there. It's already established on JIRA.
Okay.
So if you don't have JIRA, right, if you're writing user story in a Word document, so a lot of startups, right, who don't have JIRA, they write user stories in a Word document, and then they take the reference here, and then they put the reference here. You will still maintain a traceability matrix in Excel.
Right.
So it could be both for Agile and Waterfall that you use this traceability.
Anyways, I think JIRA plays a bigger role now with so many things automated kind of.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
JIRA plays a bigger role. Okay.
Yep.
So Ravi, so if we talk about the agile environment, so there is no specific QA in the team, right? So only developer use CA/CD practices using the DevOps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. So in fact, the whole team is called development team. It's so there is, in Agile, there is no role called business analyst or QA or developer. So everyone is the same.
But although if we talk about the real life scenario, does this really exist or still we have QA in the teams?
Actually, that's a good question. What happens is when you have an application and you are owning the source code of that application, means you have developed the application on your own, right? And you have the source code, there is a lot of scope for automation. So that's when a QA is not required and your developer will automate your testing. You simply write the user stories with the acceptance criteria, and your developer will also automate them using BDDs and JUnit test cases. Okay, but a lot of times we work on third-party platforms where we don't have access to source code, right? So we still follow the iteration and incremental methodologies but your tester will still be there who will be manually testing, because there is very minimal scope for automation because you don't have access to source code. Yeah. Okay, so the next important artifact is the RACI metrics. Okay, so RACI metrics is where you identify the list of different stakeholders and what are the different roles they are playing. Okay, so RACI stands for in RACI, R stands for responsible, accountable, C is consulted, and then I is informed. So you define the roles of each of them across different project activities. Okay, and then you classify them so you know whom to inform, whom to consult, who will be approving, and who is responsible. Right. Okay, so this is like self-explanatory, and I'll also show you one more template but we'll discuss a bit more detail when we discuss the BA techniques. Is the stakeholder analysis and power. Okay, so this is something that we were talking before. So whenever you enter into a new project, right, you create a list of stakeholders. So you get a list of all your stakeholders, and then you put each stakeholder into one of these 4 quadrants. Okay, so on the x-axis you see the interest of the stakeholder. So whether are they like highly interested, are they highly motivated to work on your project. Okay, so the interest level is on the x-axis, and what you see on the y-axis is the power or influence they have in the organization or in the project, right? So if a stakeholder has low interest and low influence, right, you put minimal effort on them. Okay, so you just monitor them. If a stakeholder has high interest and low influence, so they are like really curious people, so you just need to keep them informed about the progress and updates, right? Then you need to monitor stakeholders who have high interest and high influence. Okay, so they are the key people whom you need to really monitor closely, give them updates, keep them updated on the progress, consult them, and then keep them happy every time, right? And then the stakeholders who have high power and low interest, right? These are the ones who could be like real spoilers of your project because they have high influence, but they're not at all interested in your project. So you need to make sure that you always keep them happy and satisfied. Right. So we'll discuss a bit more in detail when we look at the technique, but this is something you need to do when you join a project. Plot each of the stakeholders into one of these 4 quadrants and design a strategy for each of them. This is also useful when somebody asks you, right, what do you do as a BA when you join a new project? Okay, this is something that you do when you join a new project.
Okay, so Ravi, can you go to that responsibility matrix, RACI?
Yeah.
So here, in what means there are some kind of letters that has been put. What is the meaning of those?
Which one? These are okay. So these are like from here. So RACI, okay, right, stands for responsibility, accountability, consulted, and informed. So what is the in which metrics do they fall, each of the stakeholders, and for what activity? So on the left side, so you see what are the different activities that you will have in a project, and on the horizontally you see list of all the stakeholders, and for each activity what is the RACI for each of the stakeholders.
Okay, so it is from there it is coming. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the next important one. Then we'll look at lessons learned. Okay. Okay, so lessons learned is more like where you remember when we discussed the BA workflow, right? We discussed about PIR, post implementation review. Right? So this is one form of PIR where you document what are the lessons learned after your project, right? So you put the project name, then you put who has prepared it, and so you consider different factors like related to project management, technical delivery, human factors, and anything else. And then you summarize. So you facilitate a workshop or a brainstorming session and you discuss. So these are some important tips that you'll follow. And you will document what are the strategies and processes that led to success and what are the areas of potential improvement. Okay. And then final summary and what are the different successes and then any other success and then document the improvement areas and you take signatures from different people who have worked on the project and close this. Okay, so this is more of a waterfall related artifact. If you look at the structure of this document, right, this is something that we are doing after every sprint as part of retrospective, right? So we are doing exactly the same thing. So we are celebrating success, listing out all the successes, improvement areas, then we're picking up the next big action, right, for fixing in the next sprint. So something similar, but this is more of a waterfall related artifact where you create and document this. Okay, so there are a few more templates that we need to go through. Probably we can go through them tomorrow and then we'll kick off the BA techniques from tomorrow itself.
So anything that we need to do for tomorrow?
For today, no, Anshuman. So if you can just update your FSD, right, based on what
I'll
we
do that. I'll
discussed.
do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that should be it.
Ravi, can you please send all these artifacts and which we are going to discuss tomorrow as well, so that we can just go through?
Yeah,
Take
yeah,
some
sure.
time.
So what I'll do is I'll put all of them into the same shared drive. So for you to download. So the shared drive is kind of basis where I'll be dropping all the artifacts, everything there.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah. Any questions from anyone? Venkatesh, do you have any questions? Yeah. Okay. I think we are good with it.